So LSU are a really, really interesting team. They haven't really played that many good teams. They're undefeated, but it's hard to judge them because, again, it's not like they're out here playing like the top teams in the nation. And they struggled yesterday versus Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt aren't that great. Again, in 10 days' time, we get to see them against South Carolina, which would be huge. But they're 19-0. The team is 19-0. But one thing is for sure, they got two players that are for real. They really do. And like if you watch their game against Tennessee, I like Tennessee as a team. I think they're one of these teams that is like maybe a bit better than their record would suggest. They are, well, not the record than their seeding would suggest. They're really nice. They're a really, really freaking nice team. But like obviously Anissa Morrow stepped up, huge rebounder. Michaela Williams is good. Like outside, they have their big three. They really do have their big three. Like Anissa Morrow, or 15.9 for her. Anissa Morrow's averaging the guts of 20 a game, 18 and 14. And Flau'jae Johnson has she's gone down a little bit in her points per game. She was up at 23. She's now down at 20. But she's shooting 50% from the field. But she's for real. Flau'jae Johnson is absolutely for real. Like if you looked at this Vanderbilt game yesterday, like this is a game where LSU were only up one going into the fourth. It was tight all the way through. Vanderbilt aren't really up to too much. Morrow at 23, Flau'jae at 25. But if you looked at this game down the stretch, this was the Flau'jae takeover. It was Flau'jae Johnson's takeover. And I think, again, I don't think she's going to come in for the draft this year because she's talked so much about women's college basketball and everything, wanting to be there as much as for as long as possible. But like even in the third quarter, you're looking at Flau'jae coming out, and they're down in the fourth quarter, they're down 1 point late in the shot clock, 6 minutes to go in a huge crucial possession. The ball gets swung to Flau'jae, or the ball gets swung kind of ends up hitting Flau'jae's hands from deep, banks it in. And it's like, yeah, I get it. You could argue that's a little bit of luck. But I thought her overall game was huge, especially what she did down the stretch in this game. Like, she is getting better and better and better, and she's improved year upon year upon year. Like, I would say she's in with a very good shot of being that number one pick next year. Like, I think there's a non-zero chance that because of all the stuff she does outside of basketball, she'd be the freaking number one pick this year. But I do think she's more than likely going to go into it next year because I think college basketball next year is going to be Hidalgo, Juju, and Flau'jae. They're going to be the three big names. And I think the problem is with LSU is they're just not playing anybody. Like, they haven't played anybody. They don't really play anybody good. Like, that's the problem with Kim Mulkey's teams is they just don't play anyone good for a while. And they've just been blitzing poor teams other than Tennessee. But, like, just how smooth her game is. Like, she's well able to do everything. She's an athlete. She's about 6 foot. She's about 6 foot-ish tall. She can play inside. She can play outside. She can pass. She can pull up from mid. She can shoot the three ball. Like, she had a quiet-ish game. Like, that step through bring it over is nice. She makes a really nice dish to Anissa Morrow right here. Drives baseline. Makes a really good dish splitting the double team to Anissa Morrow. And then, like, she's obviously had an okay game up to this point. And then she just takes over in the fourth quarter. She just takes over. They're down one. Bang. She hits a shot. They're down one again, as we've already seen. The ball ends up in Flau'jae Johnson's hands. She shoots it with confidence on the buzzer. Hits the shot to beat the shot clock to give them a 2-point lead. It's a tie. A couple of possessions later, Flau'jae drives in, hits a big mid-range shot. And then, again, they're up one. Drives in. Really nice take to the basket. Finishing with the right on the reverse. And then they're up 3 with 2 minutes to go. And not really a dagger shot, but a tough shot there to put them up 5. And that was pretty much all she wrote. Like, that was to give them 77 points. Vanderbilt didn't score more than that for the rest of the game. Like, they are... Like, LSU, again, I don't know how to rate LSU. It's really hard to rate LSU. Because if you look at their games this season, they have been destroying teams. Like, they almost lost to... they've had some almost near almost losses against not great teams. To be fair, like, they killed NC State. They only beat Washington by 1. Like, they haven't been destroying some of these poor teams. And if you look the rest of the way, They do face Tennessee again, who I think are a good team. They face Texas, they face Kentucky, they face Alabama. Ole Miss are a thereabouts ranked level team. They face Oklahoma and they face South Carolina. So really, we'll get to see what LSU are made of in this stretch. We will. But I do want to stand by the fact that you've got two of the best players in the nation. You've got an absolute, unbelievable rebounder in Anissa Morrow. And I think Anissa Morrow at the next level just depends on where she goes. Like, if she goes somewhere that wants her to play the 3, and this is one thing I really don't like in basketball, and you see it a little bit, even at the NBA at every level, where it's like, if someone's undersized for their position, and you get brought into a different league, and they're like, oh no, we're trying to play you a position based on your height. And it's like, no, just let them. Like, if they're a 6'6", if you are a 6'6", power forward center in the NBA, be a 6'6" power forward center. You're not going to convert them to a 2-guard. That doesn't happen. Just like what I think teams will have to do. Like, if the Sky draft Anissa Morrow, they're going to suddenly have to try convert her into a small forward who can't shoot beside a power forward who can't shoot and a center who can't shoot. So that doesn't work. Like, if you're looking purely based on fit, there is no better fit for Anissa Morrow than the Fever, because I think she starts day 1. But for Flau'jae Johnson, when it comes into next season, like her in that 2026 draft, if you're looking at teams that have the potential to get that number 1 pick, the likely lottery teams in the 2026 draft are going to be, I think the Valkyries are going to be a shot at getting her, man. If the Valkyries could get Flau'jae, her in Golden State, she'll be happy. The Sparks Sparks actually don't have their pick, so the Storm, maybe putting her to Seattle wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. The Mystics are going to be there, and Washington would be kind of cool. The Lynx, because they have the Sky pick, they might end up being there. You probably don't want Flau'jae at the Lynx, but no, she's for real. She is absolutely for real, and I think that her entering this year's draft will shake it all up. I think it's unlikely. From everything we've seen, I do think it is extremely unlikely that this happens this year. But I do think she'll be one of the top picks in 2026. Again, Lauren Betts is still a 6'7". It all depends on need. Like, Lauren Betts is there, Tania Latson's there, and we'll always kind of you'll see in their final year who's really going to separate themselves as a number 1 overall pick, or whether or not there is a clear number 1 overall pick. Because the last 3 years there has been. Heck, the last 4 years with Ryan Howard, there's been a clear number 1 overall pick. Like, Ryan Howard, Leah Boston, Caitlin Clark, and Paige Beckers have been the obvious number 1 overall picks. I do think that Olivia Miles is playing her way into that conversation, but I do think in most scenarios, people are going to still take Paige Beckers number 1. But anyway, yeah, that is pretty much it, lads. That is the video. Let me know what you guys think. I've been watching a little bit of LSU. Like, I turned on the 4th quarter yesterday. It just came up my YouTube feed, and I'm like, oh, they're playing Vanderbilt, they're killing them, and I'm like, oh wow, they're down in the 4th. Watched it and just saw Flau'jae take over and dominate, which is, again, so impressive for a player who obviously was good last year, but I didn't think she was going to improve to this much. She was going to improve to this year. Yeah. Anyway, I'll see you guys.